Shut the door.
Oh wow!
That's a very
There
good
they
move.
are. There they.
And I want you too.
Whoa!
Good morning. Welcome to New York. New York. Welcome to London. Um, sorry, that's my son coming in and my wife. I was trying to post the link everywhere, so that we get people to join. This morning, we are not gonna. I think I've searched the market and I don't see any potential trades, but just a continuation of the trade that we actually looked at from the beginning of the week, right? So since I've got 25 minutes, I'm gonna run through quickly. Dollar index, right? I said I wanted to see a continuation to the upside, so we will get dollar index to go and run this equal high. I think maybe a trade on dollar CAD to go and run this equal high as well. All right, it's looking like that's what it wants to do. Yesterday New York session, we caught the reversal in here to trade up to this low. So I'm looking for dollar CAD to go and run that equal high. So that is the trade that if you want to, you can participate. So looking for that equal high. Now I know it's going up like crazy, so maybe on the lower time frame you can trade an order block or a retracement to a fair value gap, aiming for that. Another trade is oil. I'm expecting oil to go up. I'm going to the 15 minutes. I'm expecting oil to also go up. I think they just created a 1 hour order block here, so it's there for the taking. Let me remove this. They've taken out that low there, and I think they broke market structure right here, so I think it's gonna trade up. It's gonna continue going up. So oil, you're looking for, you can see you have clean equal highs in here, and then it can also continue going up to there. So if you like oil or dollar CAD, one of them, okay, for the London session. Euro pound, I'm expecting this to go down, right? But price action hasn't confirmed yet. Yesterday I caught that. I think at the beginning of the week we were looking for this, right? I think on Wednesday we did catch that buy to run that equal high, and I said that it's gonna trade to optimal trade entry, right, relative to that range. So we were anticipating a reversal in here, and when I did some analysis, there was a gap in there, so I went short on yesterday during the London session. As it traded into that, I went short, placed my stop loss here, and I took partial, but I did put my stop loss to break even. And this morning they've run back up to stop me out at break even. So I'm gonna look for a sell to continue going down. Okay, so that's another trade that you can look at again if you want to. And the New Zealand, beautiful, that's the high of the week, right? So if you did catch this trade, as I posted in that channel, the Telegram channel, I'm gonna post the link again. I only share the link when we are doing the live session. Okay, so that's the link. If you want to join it, you can join that Telegram group so that when I post the trade, you can also see it and participate. Okay, and let's go quickly back to dollar CAD because I think, oops. If it does not get there this morning for the landing session, that'll be a good thing because that will give a tradable opportunity for the New York session. So if it doesn't get there this morning, that's good because then the New York session is going to provide a retracement and then we can get a trade to go and run that. Okay, so don't worry if it doesn't take you up there. New York will do it. Okay, I'm expecting London to do that, but if it doesn't, then during the London lunch time it might retrace, and then upon retracement I'm not sure why. I think it might be coming from yourself, so maybe double check your volume because I think things are right on my side, but look for that. Bitcoin and Ethereum, yesterday I gave up the sell that I wanted to on Bitcoin, but the only thing that will make me sell was if they come back and take out this low, which they've done nicely. So Bitcoin is a sell to come back down to clean out these equal lows in here. All right, so look for sells on Bitcoin to go and attack that low. I didn't close my short on Ethereum, so Ethereum is still up, but this one did run me out, so I changed gears looking for price to break this imbalance, and then I'll look for buy to attack this equal high, but it couldn't break above the imbalance, and then we've broken down again. Now this time I think I'm more convinced that it's gonna go lower because of this big drop, right? It's gonna probably bump into that one and then it might send it lower. So look for sells on Bitcoin. Ethereum, same thing. You can see I still have my sell on there. It couldn't even trade up into that imbalance, so Ethereum should also continue going down to attack that daily down candle. When I come back, Okay, when I come back, I will talk about something. When I come back from dropping my son from school at exactly 9 o'clock, I will talk about something that will help you. Okay, something that will help you. Yesterday, I did a London session, and I gave the members that were there to watch US 30, that imbalance there, because if they break above this high, it's gonna go higher. But I didn't see it doing it because of what I was seeing on the weekly time frame, on the Nasdaq, on the S&P. The weekly was showing me something different, so I had the impression that they were going to drop, right? So if you remember, I shared this sell in the Telegram group as soon as they broke this low. Okay, so it's similar to what I'm showing you on Bitcoin, right? The hint was here. This was the hint. Okay, that price was gonna come down here. As soon as they did a run above that high and broke down, it was hinting that it was gonna come down here. So all this was just a pullback, and then it gave another confirmation here. So the move down was so quick because it's like they did a double run, because anybody that sold short might have got scared out of the trade inside this move up. All right, but I held on to my sell, right, and I had my stop loss just above that high, because I was seeing a pattern that I do like trading, right? It's just a pattern that I like trading. A run above this high, the breakdown, that's a pattern I like trading. So I trusted that this whole move here is a pullback, and it can trade as high as closing in this void there. So if they went above that high and closed above it, then I was going to look for buys to go and attack this equal high. But I still had the narrative that it's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to go down, and they did that nicely. So it might continue going lower. I think the levels that I shared on Wednesday, they still valid to the downside. So I think it was a 1 hour gap inside this one, or a 15 minutes level inside that one. Right here, I think that's where price bounced off from, and here, right, that was the target, if you remember. Okay, so I think it might bounce a little bit, maybe not a little, it might go a little bit higher. So if you are short, make sure that either you close everything because it's Friday, or just push your stop loss to break even, and then let price decide what he wants to do next. Okay, when I come back, we will talk more about the high time frame, right? Because that's where everything is happening, right? Everything is happening on that higher time frame. So when I come back, we will dive into understanding the high time frame. Let's go to here. All right, let me check what the euro pound is doing. Okay, I like the the pound pairs. Let me see. On Wednesday, once we took that sell, right, and I closed most of the profit below that low. Okay, and then it did this. So yesterday I took a long in here, and I still have some partial running. This drop is a bit scary, but it is what it is. I'm still bullish anyway. If you remember, I gave you some targets on the H4. I said they're gonna trade above this high and they're gonna trade inside that, right? And then you can use this whole range and target that 50%. So that would be the next target on this pair. All right, so we are looking for a continuation to the upside. This will just be a pullback. It might use this as your range, so pulling back somewhere in there, and then you buy it back up again. All right, don't be scared to buy it, because it's just offering an opportunity to go long again. Yes, we're live. It's offering an opportunity to go long again. All right, so don't be scared to buy it. I think it might run probably previous day and previous week high before doing that, or you can just run yesterday's high and then come back down again. It's so interesting to see the way price is moving, and there's this theory that I'm working out, and it's actually doing it here. When I prove that theory, I will share it with you guys. Okay, I still want to see more evidence of price doing that. It's good, but your stop loss is still within that range. Your stop loss is still within that range, so they might take you out. Okay, so maybe you need to double check your stop loss, because it might take you out. Okay, double check your stop loss. It should be okay. So trend wise, we are retracing on the H4. Okay, we are retracing on the H4. So if you are retracing on the H4, you have to use the H4 range. So maybe below this low here, that's where your stop loss will be protected. Anywhere inside that range, so anywhere in here, they can take you out and still be valid to go higher. So don't leave your stop loss anywhere in there, right? If you do, they will take you out. It's as simple as that. Okay, they've taken out previous day's high. Let's see what price will do after taking out that previous day high. If it takes out previous week high, that will be similar to what euro did. So don't worry if it goes a little bit higher to take out previous week high. It will just offer more it offer more opportunity to the downside. So euro pound, let it go. Okay, if it's gonna go, let it go, and then watch this high. We have an imbalance right there. So previous week high into an imbalance will be like quick rejection back down again. Look at these lows here. Okay, it's just too clean. I wouldn't be surprised if they clean it out today. Okay, those lows there, it's too clean. I wouldn't be surprised. This run up is setting up a sell. That's what I can see. It's setting up a sell. So either they're gonna drop from the previous day's high or from the previous week high. All right, so again, you let me go and come back with the next 5 minutes. I'll go and then come back when I drop off my son off from school, and I come back. I will talk about why it went up again. Okay, because we don't have a change in price delivery to the downside. That's why it went back up again. Okay, so it's gonna set up a potential rejection, and then with that rejection we can look to sell it. Yeah, that was a good buy. If you got into that one, that was a good buy. I wouldn't have bought it because I'm expecting it to, or I was expecting it. I was expecting that swing low to be taken out. Okay, I was expecting that swing low to be taken out on here. So I wouldn't have bought it, but it's okay. It might be setting up a sell. So let's see if they do actually come down. All right, so I've got like the next 3 minutes and then I will have to go. So the trade that I'm gonna leave on is the dollar CAD going for that equal high, or Ethereum and Bitcoin gonna continue going lower. I like Bitcoin, it looks just too clean. Okay, I think those are the best two trades this morning. This one, continuation to the downside. That one, continuation to the downside, or anticipating a reversal on that. Or you're just gonna watch the New Zealand dollar catching the high of the week, and Aussie dollar also catching the high of the week. If you want to watch that, it's nicely trading. I think I like this. I'm gonna leave this one there. I'm gonna leave this one here. So I'll be back in the next 30 minutes. So if you have anything you want to do, feel free, go and do it. When I come back in the next 30 minutes, then we will kind of resume the session with me talking. But for the meantime, it's gonna go quiet from 8:30 till 9, and then when I come back at 9, we will resume. Euro is not bad either. Euro is not bad either for this equal low, but it will trigger as soon as we get weakness in euro pound. So maybe keep this one as well, because I think they will go and run those equal low after taking out this high. They will go and run the equal low. So you can keep this one as well for SL, but I'm gonna leave Aussie here. So let me leave it on the, I'll leave it on the 5 minutes chart. And enjoy the view. As soon as I hit that, make sure you take something or take everything, because it's gonna bounce. All right. I'll see you soon. Okay, I am back. All right, let's continue. Let's resume back to the screen. And let me look at the crude oil. So crude oil is going up. As let's look at CAD. CAD is also almost there. All right. Now, before I go into anything, has anyone got any question? So someone sending me a question. He did all his analysis yesterday, but all timing for the execution is before London market opening, 6:45. What is the reason of this? It's not always going to be perfect, all right? So the time aspect is 7:30, right? Let me comment it this way. When price is in a trend, the next day, the pullback, it can start in Asia and it will start moving in Asia. So London, as soon as we hit London, it's just going to be rapid to move, especially from 7 o'clock going. Sometimes price would have to go and take out some form of a low or some form of a high, but do not get in before that. If you do see, like here, this was an optimal trade entry, so price is already bullish, right, on this time frame. So it's just a retracement. If price has retraced to optimal trade entry and it's already left and it's going, it doesn't have to come back down again before it goes up. So the move itself will start like here, like exactly that 7, sometimes 7:30, but from 7, that's where you start looking for the setup. So don't be surprised to see price move before that 7:30, depending on what price is doing at the time. Say for example, right, you go to Aussie. Notice that Aussie is already dropping. Okay, so once we hit London session, do you expect it to pull back before going down? No, because it's already in. It's like it's already in motion. It's already going down. It does not need to pull back to sell off again. So it's just gonna continue selling even faster during that session. Okay, so you are now beginning to see the importance of time. You will get experience with it, and you know when to get in and when not to get in. Sometimes you can even get in the day before, because the retracement itself, right, happens during the same day, like euro pound. The retracement happened during the same day here, right? So you can get in there, but don't expect price to move. That's the thing you need to understand. Don't expect price to move with speed when you get in at that time. Okay, it's only gonna move during the London session. So you might want to sit in the consolidation until we hit London. Even sometimes when it hits this and it goes up during the London session, you can see it might come back down again to that same level before going up. All right, so don't worry about it too much. If you have the trade direction, you have everything right, you can get in, but just be prepared for price not to move when you get in at that time, and expect it to move when we hit London session, especially from 7 going. All right, if you, let me get rid of this, right? If you look at price with that shaded area, that small time window that I've highlighted, you will see that most of your moves are happening within that time window that I've highlighted. It's 3 of them. There's one in London, one in New York, and one in Asia. If you just time your trades in that time window, okay, between 7 and 9, 7 and 9, if you time your trade for that time window, that's where you're gonna get your turning arounds in price. All right, your turning arounds in price, that's where you're gonna get it. Let's go to pound New Zealand. Has it retraced enough? Yeah, it's retraced to 50%, so it can go up. Let's look at this. There you go. This is another trade that I shared over a week ago. I think, was it a week? This week? Let me see. And it just got triggered. So that's a trade that if you like, you can take as well. I'm actually gonna put it on my, because we've been looking at this since last week. Was it last week? No, this week. I posted it this week and I was anticipating a buy from there and I never got there. Okay, if you like, you can buy this one as well. Actually, let me share it. Make sure to take partial here. Make sure to take partial here. Right, at that candle's low, take partial, because what I'm seeing, which is what I probably gonna touch on today, let's do some learning, shall we? It's almost there. I'm gonna put a oops, let me put an alert here so that if they do run it, I will get to know. All right, let's do some learning. So I'm gonna choose one screen. Let's choose this one here. Maximize the H4. There you go. All right, so I'm gonna touch on something that is very interesting. If you start seeing it in price, you're gonna be surprised. and we will go in and look for examples, right? But if you've been following ICT for a while, okay, for those of you that trade ICT, if you've been following ICT for a while, he made a comment, and that comment is what led me to kind of investigate what he actually means by that. He says that all you need is the open, high, low, and close. Okay. The open, the high, the low, and close of candles, or a period, or an interval. Right? All you need is the open, high, low, and close of a candle or an interval. So it's been something that I personally took on and say, okay, I'm gonna, because he didn't, when he says all you need is the open, high, low, and close, he didn't actually go into details about why the open, why the high, why the low, why the close. I have kind of gone through price, and the low, the high, and the close is what I've managed to kind of figure something out, but not the open. I'm still yet to find, or I'm still yet to figure things about the opening price, but the high, the low, and the close, I've managed to kind of get some understanding on the price point of high, low, close. So when you have a candle like this, and you have the high, you have the open, you have the close, and you have the low, right? This is an up candle. What makes this high important? What makes this close important? What makes this open important? What makes this close important? It's going to be important relative to the previous period. All right, it's going to be important relative to the previous period. So if the previous period, give me 1 sec. Okay, if the previous period, right, it's also, let's say, an up candle. So we have this. Say this is also an up candle, right? If this candle is bullish, or it's a bull candle, and this one is a bull candle, then the high of this candle is important because price was able to close above this high, right? Price was able to close above this high, meaning that it's like a confirmation price wants to go higher with that close above that high. The low is also going to be important because if price went down and closed below the low, that's also a different scenario. All right, so the high, the low, and the close is what I kind of hinged on with what I'm showing you here. When price open and it's able to close above the previous high, it's a confirmation that price wants to go higher. So with the next candle open, okay, with the next candle open, you are anticipating higher prices, right? If this is what you have in price, regardless of the time frame, regardless of whatever it is, whatever instrument it is, the fact that this candle, okay, was able to close above that, the next candle that is going to open, in your mind, you should be thinking is going to be an up candle. That's it. Okay. the moment this candle opens and it starts trading down, say we open the next candle, this is the closing price, right? And then the next one opens, and usually it will leave this high intact. It will not attack it. It will start going down. So say price starts going down, like that. This is an opportunity for a long, because the narrative is coming from this one and that. So if price has closed above this high, it's like the bulls are in control, the buyers are in control. Therefore, anything coming back down, it's just a retracement. So sometimes all you need to do is just drop down in like a time frame below. So say if this is a H1 time frame, right? Then all you need to do is drop down to a 5 minute or a 15 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes will do. Okay. And then anticipate a buy. Sometimes if you look closely, you see that price is going back to this high, sorry, this low to that high. Is gonna go to OTE. Okay, it's gonna go to OTE because it's gonna find some form of what, an imbalance down here, and then either that same candle is gonna reject and then come back up, or the next candle is gonna do that and then it will expand up. Okay, now because this candle closed bullish again, for price to go bearish, okay, for price to go bearish, it needs to create something like this. Okay, that's not a good drawing. For price to close bearish, one, it needs to either take out this high, and close like that. This is a sign. Okay, this is not bearishness. This is a sign of bearishness. If it takes out this high and it closes bearish, it's not bearish, it's a sign of bearishness. The next candle is going to determine whether it's going to go down or it's going to go up. So if the next candle opens, okay, and then it closes below this low, sometimes if you do some back testing, you can use the lower time frames to determine that. You don't have to wait for this particular time frame, this time frame that you're looking. You don't have to wait for that particular time frame to close below this low. You can use the lower time frames, aka whatever time frame you're using on the higher time frame. You can use, say this is a 1 hour, so you can use the 15 minutes or the 5 minutes. You will see, okay, if you do some back testing, if you go through price, you will see that below this low, price is gonna break on that 5 minutes or 15 minutes time frame. As soon as you see that, it's a confirmation, because the narrative has been started from here, or the narrative started from there. The fact that they took out this high and rejected and closed bearish, it's a sign. It's not a reversal, it's a sign. Now in the lower time frame, sometimes it will confirm on the lower time frame. So inside this range, sometimes you have something like this, okay, and then it will do that and then break. But this low is this low here, right? So this break it's a confirmation that it's gonna run that low. It's just gonna do what? It's gonna close like this, and then what you will see is that this one is gonna open, is gonna rally a little bit, and then it's gonna send it down quickly, and it's gonna do something like that, and then you end up having a swing high. What I'm showing you, it's how you read the candles as they are forming, or how you anticipate what candles are supposed to be forming. So if I see on the time frame that I'm watching, aka 1 hour, and it forms something like this, and I drop down to the 15 or 5 minutes and I see something like this, I will anticipate a swing high forming, and then I'll be looking to sell short, targeting whatever I'm targeting. But what I'm showing you here, it's not the 1 hour. I'm showing you the higher time frame, how I read the higher time frame. Okay, this is how I read the higher time frame, which is what helps me to know what price is trying to reach for almost all the time. So in the Telegram group, right, the directional buyers that I've been sending, this is how I'm seeing it, and I'm trying to show it to you by reading how these candles are printing on an individual basis. Okay, I'm not looking at pattern, I'm not looking at anything, I'm looking at the individual candles. Now don't get me wrong, sometimes the candles can go into some form of a weird pattern where it doesn't close above and it doesn't close below, and it's like it takes out this high and then it takes out this low and it comes back inside, so you end up having something like that. And then next candle will open, and then you see it will run up, go and take out this high, but it will not close above it, and it will leave a wick like that. So sometimes price can get into this kind of weird pattern that is hard to read, but when it's like that, just leave it alone. Okay, when you see price doing things like that, just leave it alone and then go and trade something else, because when it's doing this on the lower time frame, what it's actually doing is like it's either it's distributing or it's accumulating. Over time, it's gonna show the direction it wants to move to. So if it's gonna go up, you will see that it's gonna close above that high, and then that's your confirmation. And if it's gonna go lower, it's gonna close below that low, and then that's your confirmation. All right. Okay, so hopefully you understand that. Now let's dive deeper into it. I'm using the buy scenario, okay? So when price gives you this scenario, all right, why would price want to come back down here? Okay, because sometimes it will open and it's gonna drive all the way down to attack this low, and then reject and close like this, and then you see the very next candle open and then rallies with a small wick like that. Why would price do something like this? You will not be able to catch every single trade out there, or you're not going to be 100% perfect. So sometimes you will have to take a loss for you to know what price is trying to do. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again because it's very important. Sometimes you will have to take a loss before you know exactly what price is trying to do, because when it's printing or when price is moving, the narrative can still be valid, but because you don't have the power to control where price can go for, they can take liquidity below previous highs and lows, right? Which might not be obvious to you because maybe you're stuck in the lower time frame. So when this candle opens, you might sometimes see it will run down, take out that previous low, and then reject. So what this one actually does for you is it's giving you the opportunity to go long, but it's also giving a future opportunity for price to come back and continue going up. So if this is the 1 hour time frame, and say it takes out the previous 1 hour low and rejects, and the next 1 hour candle goes up and closes above this high, it's a confirmation price wants to go higher. You will see sometimes, right, or most of the time, the next candle opens is going to drive all the way down, right? When that happens, that is the opportunity for you to go long, because without you being aware, what has happened down here is that they've created this kind of pattern down here. Therefore, the next candle pulling back will be just a retracement, and then it will take price higher. And it's all by reading these candles. I'll show you examples of them, okay? Because this week, most of the trades that we took is hinged around what I'm showing you here, okay? Most of the trades that we took is hinged around what I'm showing you here. It's just that the time frames that is doing it is quite different, but it's the same thing. It's the same, price movement that is doing. So the narrative on, say, the New Zealand dollar, okay, the New Zealand dollar short that we took on the weekly time frame, this was what was happening. We had this bearish candle, and we had another bearish candle below it. So this was last week's candle, okay, New Zealand dollar. This is last week's candle. It closed below this low here, right, confirming that price wants to continue going lower. Okay, so if this is the case and we close down here, what did I say? The next one is going to open, okay, and it's going to trade back up again. What is it trading back into? It can trade back into between this high and that low. It's going to trade to optimal trade entry. So it's going to trade to, if you put your fib between this high and this low, it's going to trade to optimal trade entry. So you are going to anticipate that when the week starts, okay, when you see this price action here where we close bearish and we close bearish below the previous low, it's a confirmation price wants to continue going lower. So when the week starts, okay, you should anticipate a retracement back into optimal trade entry. Once you see price coming up, be happy, because it's setting up a sell for the rest of the week. So sometimes it can get there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it gets there. Now, what kind of level can it reach for? You might have a bearish order block up here. You might have a fair value gap up here, or you might have just a normal swing high, small swing high on the H4 up here, where here. So relative to this range, optimal trade entry, you might have something up there that price will come for. Okay, so once it gets there, you can wait for price depending, because you can risk and sell at the OTE. You can risk and you can sell at the OTE, leaving your stop loss above the previous week high and then expect price to expand back down to attack this low, because the narrative is we are supposed to continue going down. So by default, price is going to come back down below this low. And what I'm showing you, you can do the same thing on the on the upside. Okay, on the upside you can do the same thing. So as price is coming up, it's scary, trust me, it is scary, but over time with experience it wouldn't be. It would be such a joy to see it come up there. All right, and then you just sell and expect price to roll back down again. There will be times that it can go and attack this high, which is what I'm anticipating. Which is what I'm anticipating the euro pound to do. Okay, it can go and attack the previous week high and still be valid to come back down here. It might not do that completion back down below this low the same week. So then if it does attack this high and you see it break down and it does not complete within that same week, then the following week, as soon as market opens, you will see that it's going to drive down quickly between Monday and Tuesday. It's going to run down and then create a bearish candle on the weekly time frame. All right. Let me get rid of that. As price is trading beginning of the week, as it's coming up here, when you see it, because it can give you hints down here, right? When you see it, you can be a buyer to go up. Okay, you can buy it. It's gonna come to you by experience. Okay, with experience you can buy it. That's what we did on Wednesday with euro pound. Okay, because it gave hints, again, just by reading the candles. By reading the candles, it gave hints that price was going to trade up there. Okay, so you get the buy and it gets up there, and then once it gets there, you anticipate what a sell. You can do what I did, which is I just identified a gap up there and I sold short and I left my stop loss above the weekly high. Or you can wait for price to get there and then break market structure. You will see it. Okay, I'm going to show you examples, so don't worry. If you don't get what I'm showing you, I'm going to show you examples. You will see when it does it, because when it gets up here, because it cannot go higher, it has to change direction. On the lower time frame, it has to change direction. So as soon as it gets there, you start looking for the signature for price to give you a break in market structure. And as soon as you see that, you start looking for sells. Now, what I personally use is the H4. I don't necessarily have to see a break in market structure. I want to see a swing high on the H4. Right? Because it's the same thing. If we have this, which is what I started off with, right? Why this is a sign of a sell. Well, my candles doesn't look pretty, but it's okay. Why this is a sell? It's a sell because once we form that swing high, what should follow? A continuation to the downside. So if we trade up here, I start reading the H4 time frame candles. Right? I don't need anything to sell short. I just need to see what the H4 is doing. So on the H4, if it's giving me hints that it wants to go down, right, I start watching it up in the optimal trade entry area. As soon as I see the swing high form, I know that we're gonna go down. So anything going forward, right, is subject to sell. Yes, sometimes it can run back up again and take out this high, and once it does that, just wait. Okay, just wait, because running back above that high could just be setting up the sell. Whatever I've said here, just reverse it to the upside. All right, so when you're doing your weekly analysis, when the week closes and you go in and you start doing your weekly analysis for the following week, have a look at the weekly time frame and see what the weekly is trying to do. Are we going up? Are we going down? It will give you hints on what the next week candle is going to be like. Okay, it's gonna give you hints on how the following week candle is going to be like. So last week, when I was doing my weekly my weekend analysis and I saw this, now let's go and show you examples. Right, when I was doing my weekend analysis and I saw this, I was excited. Why? Because we had this candle and that candle closing bearish, right? So if that's the case, what am I expecting? I'm expecting lower prices for this week. So where am I anticipating it? Up in here. So when the week started, if I go back to, I'll just use the H4. When the week started, all I had to do was draw a fib from last week's high to Monday's low. So if I go back here, this was Monday's low. That's Monday's low. And then you draw a box here. That's where you're anticipating it. Okay, that's where you're anticipating the retracement to do what? To sell short again. Every week. If you do this every week, you'll be surprised. Right, and then price came up here. What was in here that caused me, or that gave me the hint that it might go down? This fair value gap, right? That fair value gap there. So in the Telegram group that I've created for the London session, right, you will see I have two entries. One was here and one was above that high. Why? Because it can go and take out this high and still be valid to go down. This was a good level because it's a gap. It's going to struggle to go above it. So it's a good level to anticipate the reversal to happen. Now, how did I see it coming down? There's one thing anticipating it and one thing seeing it coming down. Let's get rid of this one and then zoom in here. That swing high on the H4 confirmed right there. So the same thing, right? The narrative on the weekly was what? We look for this candle and that candle for the confirmation. Okay, on the H4 we have this candle and that candle for the confirmation. So right here, as soon as this candle closed like that, we are locked in, especially after he's traded to, remember that. Okay, you have to remember this because you might do it here and it'll stop you out. You need to remember what I'm showing you here. It has to trade to premium. It has to trade to above 50, from 50% and up. it has to trade there. If you're anticipating the sell, it has to trade to 50% and above, and then you anticipate this price action. Okay, sometimes you might forget it, and then you try and sell short in here, anticipating that weekly to expand to the downside, or you might buy it a bit early, anticipating the weekly to expand to the upside, and it will stop you out because you are doing business in the wrong area. So make sure you do remember that. So here, after that candle closes bearish, what does that mean on the lower time frame? Let's drop down to the 15. This is what it actually means. High, low, break. That's a breaking market structure, right? On the lower time frame. But I don't need to be on the lower time frame because I understand that this candle formation is exactly what? It's exactly that on the lower time frame. When I see this on the H4, in my mind, I'm seeing this on the lower time frame. Okay, I'm seeing this on the lower time frame. So I don't need to go into the lower time frame to be able to know that we broke market structure. This time frame is enough. And then the rest is just confirmation. You're gonna go down. For price to go back up again, they have to close above this high. Oops. Okay, they have to close above this high. And like I said, if that happens, that's fine. You take a loss, but you're still gonna be anticipating the reversal. This is what happens almost every week, and sometimes people get confused as what price is trying to do, because the week will start and it will do the opposite of what you are anticipating. Right? Say you go into the weekend and price was bullish. You are looking for buy. We start the week and then price starts dropping. Right? It's actually contrary to what you are expecting for that week. So when that happens, a lot of people will get confused because they were thinking, I think price is going up. Why is it not going up? Like this one here, right? We ended the week bearish and then we start a new week. Everybody will be looking for price to continue going down, but it starts going up. Why is it doing that? It's just going into a pullback. Okay, it's going into a pullback and then it's going to do what? It's going to continue going down. If you look at Aussie, the same thing. If you go to the weekly time frame, we had this candle close below. So what we expecting? Higher prices. Lower prices. So dropping down to the lower time frame, this is the previous week high and this is the low, right? So you highlight the 618 to 79 retracement level, and that's where you're anticipating what? Your sell. And then inside here on the lower time frame, there was actually a gap up there, that small little gap there. That's where price went, which is inside this swing high. Okay, and then price just fell off. Today, yesterday, as soon as this candle closed bearish, okay, this candle closed bearish below that, that's a huge sign that today is going to do the same thing. As soon as this candle closed bearish, today was going to be a down day. And where did I say they were going to reach for? Oops. Where did I say they're going to reach for? That level. How do I know that? It's the same thing. This move to the upside, right, relative to this time frame, is the same thing. This candle close above it. Okay, so it's a confirmation that the next candle is going to do what? It's going to potentially go up, but it can retrace. So if it's going to retrace, where is it going to retrace to? This low to that high is going to retrace to in here. So if it's going to retrace to there, then what level down there can price trade to? Gap. So you see that what I'm showing you is actually on every time frame. It's just knowing how to read it and also combining the time frames, because if you don't know how to combine the time frames, you are going to read it wrong. Okay, if you don't know how to combine the time frames, you are going to read it wrong. So the best thing I do, or which is what I'm showing you, I do it on the high time frame. I don't do it anything lower than the 4 hour. If you do it anything lower than the 4 hour, you're asking for trouble. Okay, if you do it anything lower than the 4 hour, you're asking for trouble. Even the 4 hour sometimes can be trouble, because the higher time frame is always going to win. Whatever you do, the high time frame is always going to win. So you might as well submit to the high time frame. That is why I'm showing you on the weekly and the daily. Those are the time frames you need to be focusing on. And then the lower time frames are going to be the ones that you use in the pullbacks. So in the discussion, right, I said that when this closes, right, the next one is going to open and it's going to start going up. So when it's going up in the lower time frame, you will see it going up. So if this is the daily on your 5-15 minutes, that is it's like it's an uptrend. So if that's an uptrend on that 15 minutes time frame, let's say price is going up, definitely you will see that the H4 candle will close like something like this. But the narrative is not on the lower time frame, it's on the high time frame. So if you use the narrative, or if you use that same understanding that, okay, I know IT said this is how price is going to move, so I'm going to do it on the H4, without having the understanding that the daily is going to look to go lower, hence the H4 going up is just a retracement. So if I see H4 close like this and I try to be a buyer on the lower time frame inside this high to this low, just like I'm doing here, price might probably have hit the OTE on the daily, all right, and that's where you are looking to buy, and then price will do something like this and it's going to come back down and you're looking to buy here, and then it will slam through it. Why? Because it has got to where it needs to turn around. So that's why I don't recommend it on the lower time frame, because if you do it on the lower time frame, you will get run over by the higher time frame. So do it on the high time frame and then trade it on the lower time frame. Okay, look for that narrative on the higher time frame and then trade it on the lower time frame. If you do that, your success rate is going to be higher. If you do it on the lower time frame, you are going to get lots of trades, but your success rate is going to be lower because it's always going to be subject to the higher time frame. Okay, it's always going to be subject to the higher time frame, hence you don't do it on the lower time frame. Okay, let's go to pound New Zealand and pound Aussie on the weekly time frame. Same thing happened here. Last week, what did we do? We closed bullish, right? So at the beginning of the week, price did what? It started dropping. So relative to previous week's range, right? On Wednesday, when we're doing the live session, you remember I said I want to see it trade a little bit lower because that's where I was anticipating the buy. Okay, but I didn't get there. But look what happened on the H4. Okay, that's why reading the candles, I've gone through all of it, so you should be able to do it. On the H4, as soon as it took out this low here and then that candle printed this candle here, that right there, as soon as that candle printed, everything was pointing to the upside. All right, everything was pointing to the upside. Why? Because we have retraced and price action is confirming that it wants to go higher. Hence, you start looking for a buy. Notice that if I zoom in here, this is the same as what you're seeing on the weekly. So this high to this low, I'm gonna remove that. This high to this low, if I pull a fib, it stops at the optimal trade entry and then it screams back up again. All right, it stops dead at optimal trade entry and it screams back up again. Why? The narrative is on the higher time frame. It's not on this time frame. So when this is doing that, maybe some people might have seen this and then expecting price to continue going lower. Right? They'll be expecting price to continue going lower without understanding that the draw on liquidity or the high time frame is looking for higher prices. Right? The high time frame is looking for higher prices. There you go. On on pound Aussie, right? I gave you the drawn liquidity and the narrative was coming from here, right? So we started the week and it started coming down. Measure previous week's low, which is this low here, to that high. And then optimal trade entry. What is here? It's a gap. There's one also here. But look again closely. I'm gonna remove all that. price got here and then it formed a low. Okay, and I said as soon as you see that, you're gonna go long, but sometimes it can take you out, but it doesn't change the narrative. As long as they don't close below, it doesn't change the narrative. It's gonna form again. It does that here, and then it sends price higher. Right? So how do you apply it, or how do you actually use it? Go onto your weekly time frame. Go to your weekly time frame. Okay, go into your weekly time frame at the end of every week and then see what happened. So when the week ends, right, just go through it like this and then see which pairs did actually confirm a continuation. Okay, which pairs on any instrument out there. Okay, any instrument out there, which pairs confirmed on the weekly time frame that it's willing to continue going up. Remember the what I said earlier, when ICT says it's all about the open, the high, the low, and the close. Okay, this is what I have managed to come to a conclusion. Whenever I see the candle close below a previous low or a previous high, it's like it's a validation of what price is trying to do. So if you go onto your weekly time frame and then you see a close above a previous week high or a close below a previous week low, all right, that's the pair you are interested in trading the following week. So if let's say today is Friday, this candle closes as it is, this will be a nice pair to anticipate a buy going into next week. So how will you do it? Provided we don't trade all the way, it can't trade all the way back into this, right? Let me do it so you can see. This is the weekly low, this is the weekly high. Price has already started retracing. So if the week closes above this, then next week what you will do, just highlight this area. Okay, highlight that area, and then next week sit patiently, wait, don't do anything, just sit on your hands, wait patiently, and then anticipate something like this forming. All right, sit on your hands, don't do anything, wait till you see a swing low forming in here. If it does not form, you don't move your hand to take a trade on this pair. Granted, you can take a sell, that's fine, because it's coming down. As long as we are not here, you can take a sell, but that's a conversation for another day. Okay, but if you want, the best thing is sit on your hands because of the weekly time frame. Sit on your hands and wait down here and anticipate a swing low formation. As soon as you see that swing low formed, you get long. Where are you gonna target? Back up here. That will be the drawn liquidity, because price is always gonna go back to its original retracement. All right, price is always going to go back to its original retracement. So if this is where it's retracing from, it's going to go back up there, and you have a big range. If you start catching if you start catching trades like this every week, right, you don't have to do much to catch them. Okay, you don't have to do much to catch these kind of trades. It requires patience, but it's doable. Right, let's go to the indices, and I'm gonna close with that. What is this one here? On the S&P 500. This is why at the beginning of the week I said I'm looking for continuation to the downside on the indices. We started from here. We closed below that. We closed below that. So this week I'm expecting what? Expansion to the downside. So we started the week and price went up. So I was anticipating a reversal in optimal trade entry. That didn't happen in here. There. That didn't happen because I was looking for a swing high to form. It didn't happen. They decided to continue going up. No problem. Highlight previous week high. That's previous week's high. And then what happened? As soon as they went above it, guess what? Boom, big rejection. So when they rejected, what is it gonna go and target now? It's gonna go and target the lows that led price to come up there. So it's gonna come and target this one. So that's the draw on liquidity. All right. Nasdaq, same thing. Previous week low, closed, so we are bearish. The week started and it started going up. Where is it gonna reverse from? Just do previous week high to that low there. Where does it retrace to? Optimal trade entry. Did it form a swing high on the H4? Yes, up here, right there. So if it's good, we are not supposed to go above this high. Right? If it's gonna go down, as soon as that swing high formed on the H4, it's not supposed to go up there again. Why? Because remember I said, if you see that swing high on the H4, it's the same thing as seeing the lower time frame giving you something like that, a breaking market structure. Hence, it's just gonna pull back. If it's gonna go up, it's just pulling back and it's gonna go down again. And that's what it did. So if you drop down to the lower time frame, you see we have this high, this low, that high, and that low. That is that pattern that confirms that order block on the H4. So all this was just what? A pullback to go down. And where did it attack? Here. So I sent this as soon as I went below that low. Why? Because the narrative was from here. That was when it confirmed it wants to go lower. Right? So it going up there was just a retracement. Now if price is up here and I send a notification that it's gonna go down here, you must be thinking this guy is crazy. It's gonna go up. No, it's not. It's gonna go down. But it's easier for you to sell when it's down here. Why? Because it's going down. So it's much easier. Same thing with the pound Aussie. Right? I sent it when it was where is it? Pound Aussie. I sent it when it was up here. I think somewhere in here. Why? Because if I send it down here, right, You must be thinking this guy is crazy because it's going down. It's supposed to go down. Okay, you must be thinking that this guy is crazy. Price is supposed to go down, but it's not. The narrative is on the high time frame, so it's much easier for you to understand that from here it's gonna go up there than here. Because if I give you a trade idea that price is gonna move from here to there, I don't think you believe it until it does it. But if I give you a trade idea that on this candle price is gonna go up here, you will believe it because it's going up. Okay, you believe it from here than there. Hence, I'll send it when it's easier for your mind to accept it. All right. Let's go back to this one. Not that. Let's go back to the indices, and then US 30. This one is the one I mentioned that sometimes it can get into this kind of tricky situations. Okay, it can get to this kind of tricky situations where it's not closing either above or below, right? So when that happens, just leave it alone and go trade something else. All right, unless you understand price action, right, then you can do what I did, which was find this kind of pattern and then anticipate a sell up there. But if not, or if you're doing your analysis on the high time frame and it's not giving you a clear indication, just trade something else. Only trade when it's super clear that this is what price is trying to do, and then you trade it based on the weekly analysis. All right, and then finally this one, dollar index. How did I know that dollar index was going to continue going higher? It's the same thing. So if you pick up your narrative from the dollar index, don't you think you're gonna get your trades on all the currencies, everything out there, right? That's what I did. So if you look on the dollar index, we closed bullish. Last week we closed bullish. So 2 weeks ago we closed bullish, right? So last week was going to be a bull candle. This week we are closing bullish, right? So next week is going to be a bull candle. But this week particular, right, we opened and then price started dropping. Everybody thinking dollar is gonna go down here, right? Everybody's thinking dollar is gonna go down. No, it's not. All he's doing is retracing back to the previous week's range. So this high to that low in here actually caught that low. That's what led me to right there. That's where price reversed from. That imbalance inside your optimal trade entry area, and then they come back and attack this high. So with that narrative, right, when did I know it was gonna go up? Just watch the H4 here. So initially, now I have a bit of experience, so I knew from here, from this candle, I'm sorry, this one here, based on certain things that I look for, which the VIP members will know, right? Or if you don't know, I'm gonna teach you. I knew from this candle here is what gave it away that they were going to trade up here. If you add 1 plus 1 together, you understand why I'm saying that candle. But that's the candle that gave you away that price was going to come up here. So the sell on this trade was actually confirmed. It was confirmed that price was going to go down when this candle at exactly 12 o'clock yesterday, my time. So if you go on to New Zealand, price was not going to drop until 12 o'clock. That candle. After that candle closed, that is when dollar was going to go higher, and then the foreign currencies was going to drop. Okay, so I think I've done I've done my job for the day. Dollar CAD eventually went for that equal high. Oil, disappointed, it broke down, but that's fine because it's the same thing. Next week is a buy on oil. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. We close bullish. We are retracing. It's coming to optimal trade entry. I kind of knew there's a gap down there that price needs to hit, and then next week is a buy on oil here. So next week on Monday, between Monday and Wednesday, we'll be watching oil inside this for a buy, especially this one here. Let's go to the 1 hour time frame. You see it, this one and then that one. There's a level on the lower time frame. That's where we'll be watching for a buy, for a continuation to come back and attack this high. Okay, so that's a free analysis for you to go over the weekend. You don't have to do analysis on oil. You can actually look to sell to come down there, but I don't like that idea because it's Friday, right? So wait till next week, buy long, hold it to this high. All right, okay, that's me done. Now if you have any question, I'm gonna allow 15 minutes. I'll do till 10:30. I'm gonna allow to 15 minutes if you have any question. I'll do till 10:30. If you have any question, feel free to ask. I know you might have a lot of questions because I talked a lot. So feel free to ask. All right, so let's look at Euro Pound. It has taken out previous week high and it's stuck. Notice that it can't go higher. So if you go into the weekly time frame, what needs to happen now, based on what I've shared so far, what needs to happen? Just sit on your hands and wait for a swing high to form. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to force the trade. If it's going to happen, it will happen, because price will not hide, or they cannot hide it, right? At this point, someone figured it out. They cannot hide it. So all you have to do is just sit on your hands and wait. You don't have to, you can if you want to, but that's risky. If you sell short, right, it can keep going up. Nothing stops this from going up. It can keep going up. So all you have to do is sit on your hands and wait when it gives you that. As soon as it gives you that, you're gonna go short. Okay. How do you know when the weekly hits an area that will invalidate the current printed candle? Okay, good question. It's so like here right now, we have a low, we have a high, and we have a low. All right. For the weekly to be to invalidate this high, they don't have to close above it. Not on the lower time frame. On the lower time frame they can, but on the daily and or weekly, they don't have to close above it, because if it does on the weekly time frame, it changes, which ICT calls the change. It's like they changing the state of delivery. It changes the state of delivery. So it will be invalid if this week close above it. Then the narrative changes, because then we have what? This, and that has closed above it. So the following week, then you do the opposite. You actually look for this low to that high, and then you anticipate there. Okay, if it does happen like that, then the following week you anticipate there. No problem, you're welcome. It's not, the way I'm explaining it, it looks easy, but it's not easy. So it's gonna require you to kind of back test it. Okay, it's gonna require you to back test it, because there are other elements that I've not shared here, but what I've shared is enough, right? If you just be patient, what I've shared is enough. You can get trades every single week. Even if you don't do it on the weekly, you can do it on the daily. Okay, if you can do it on the weekly, you can do it on the daily. We have this candle close, next one opens, it retraces, and then it expands down. This one opens, it retraces, and then it expands down. The complication will come in when it moves into this kind of pattern. Okay, and I'm giving you the advice: when you see it doing this thing, don't trade it, move on to do something else. Any other question? If this doesn't drop during the New York session, I'll be surprised, and I'll probably look to buy next week. If we don't reverse during the New York session. I'll be surprised, and next week, depending on how the week will end, if they just take out the high and end the week without closing above it, leave this pair alone. Okay, you might trade it if you see something on the daily, but don't trade it for the weekly expansion. Just leave it alone, because it needs to tip its hand what it wants to do for next week. So if the weekly does not close above this high and it does not reverse this week, if it does not reverse during the New York session, leave this pair alone next week and then find something else to trade. I gave you oil, right? So you can trade oil next week. Dollar CAD, not so much dollar CAD. If it closes above that high, then you can. Bitcoin was another one, right? Previous week it goes up and it takes out a previous week high and then rejects. Same thing with Ethereum. Ethereum didn't do that. It actually went into optimal trade entry and then it's rejecting. It's dropped down to the H4 on that one. In here, right, that was when I sold short because it confirmed, and then it went one more time. It couldn't close above that, which that's what's supposed to happen, and then the real drop happens. So next week, what should happen on this pair? With what has happened this week, what should happen next week on this pair? It's supposed to drop down again, right? So if we start next week, which I don't think it will, because it's just too bearish, I think it's just gonna open and it's gonna continue going down. But if it does, if it starts retracing on the lower time frame, all you have to do is measure the weekly range and then anticipate it coming up in here, and then you sell short. But it's just too bearish in my opinion. It might not it might not get there. It'll probably bump into this candle's low, which is a change in price direction, bump into that low and then continue going lower. Card Swiss is not a sell setup. I think I mentioned it's a buy. It's a buy. You guys, I've just laid gold. I've laid gold in your hands like that. I've laid gold in your hands. Now, if you want to learn more, right, just reach out to me on the, I have my Telegram below there. Reach out to me and I'll see what I can do. Yes, on the weekly time frame, the way you write the WTF, it sounds something different. Sometimes, can you write can you write weekly time frame? Because that WTF sounds, like, I don't want to say it because I'm on record, but it sounds different. Okay, so just write weekly time frame, not WTF. Sometimes when you send it to me, I laugh all the time. All right, we've only got 5 minutes left, so let me see. Yes, futures. You can do the same thing on the futures, and that can also give you the cross pair that you want to trade for the week. Right? You can do it on the futures, and it will give you the cross pair that you want to trade for the week. So if you want to trade any cross pair, right, just do it on the futures market. It requires a bit of experience on this one, because you have to know which one are you supposed to use as the cross. When you do, let's say, the analysis on the futures market, then check the currency pair itself and see what direction they are moving in. So let's say you do your analysis on pound Aussie. Okay, let me move this drawing. Say you do the weekly analysis on pound, and then you do the analysis on Aussie. This was last week. The close of last week, which is why I looked for the buy on pound Aussie. Oops. Okay, ignore this candle. Okay, ignore that candle and then look closely. Notice that this closed below that. Okay, that closed below that. This one didn't. So this is the end of last week. Right? So by default, this pair is bearish. This one is bearish, but it's stronger than that one. Okay, hence pound Aussie is gonna go up for this week, and it did. Okay, so you can do that on the other currencies. So if I put CAD here, the same thing, right? CAD did not close bearish. Aussie did. So if you go and check Aussie CAD, by now it's rallying, but it should be dropping for that week. So we'll put that weekly break on. That was just a pullback and then a drop for the week. Okay, that brings me to the end of today's session. I hope you got something out of it, and going into next week, you have a bit of understanding in price that you can use to help you in your trading. Okay, now if you want to share, the YouTube link for people to come and also learn, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help people know how to read the market. So if you want to help other people, just share the link and then tell them exactly when I do the live sessions. It's Monday, Wednesdays and Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. but between 8:30 and 9 I'll be taking my son to school, so the screen will be static. There will be no one talking, and then when I come back from dropping him from school at 9, I will resume whatever we are doing. I've also shared a link where I'll be posting whilst we are doing the live session if we see any trade for the day, for the week, maybe even for the month. If I do a high time frame analysis and I see something, I will post it in there, and you have the advantage to use that analysis. Right, it will only be shared in that group that I've created for the live sessions, because only people here should have access to that. If you're not here, you can't. All right, so that's all for me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a blessed weekend and have fun. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.